can either put our hands together or up in the air for Vincent Nere.
Nere, yes, exactly. There's Nere. Hello, good evening. David is going to elevate us with his speech about fast food, or the title is fast food. And already that allows us to relate to the subject, which we all have some experience with fast food. The purpose of the speech is to have the project for the member is to apply his leadership and planning knowledge to develop a project plan, organize a guidance committee, and implement the plan with the help of a team. And the purpose of the speech is for the member to share some aspect of his experience completing the project. David, are you ready? What's the weather like in Ireland? David Ryan, fast food.
The only way to eat another meal is to get hungry. Wise words indeed, variously attributed to Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, and just this week on our WhatsApp channel, our very own Jan Sonda. The only way to eat another meal is to get hungry. And if I might just stretch the metaphor a little bit, if a meal is personal growth, then Toastmasters contests are a family feast. And you can credit this one in future to me. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. The contest was to be held on Monday evening. On Saturday morning, as I was driving along, I got the call. And the caller was desperate and hesitant. Dave, I really can't pull it together. Would you mind possibly stepping in as contest organizer? No, I'm not going to elaborate on the situation that led up to the call. It really doesn't matter. Suffice it to say that this was a genuine call for help. And as I waited up, the previous weekend, my contest run this year had run its course. Thanks, Zan. My business travel scheduled for that week had been cancelled due to a COVID case in our family. Thanks, Alana. And so I thought about it for about a split second and said, of course, I'll step in, no problem. It's rare that you get the opportunity to stretch yourself a bit and help out a genuine friend in need at the same time. So the challenge was set, how to pull together an area contest that would fit our colloquial area in the southwest, rural southwest corner of Ireland, and give the contestants a platform to shine in 2 days. So as I was continued driving that morning, I thought about all the things that I had to make happen. We'd need 5 judges, 2 counters, 2 timers, sergeant at arms, Zoom master, contest chair, chief judge. I need to schedule the briefings, I need to get the contestant details, I need to verify their eligibility, I need to make an agenda, and I need to get a test speaker. I'm not the most systematic person. I like to cook curries, recipes where you don't need to schedule everything well in advance, you just take each step at a time. And so this was going to be a big challenge. Before I get to, I'll talk a little bit about menus and timing. Before I get there though, I want to say, this thing that struck me is I was going to need some other master chefs in this kitchen on the menu and timing. When it comes to cooking a Christmas dinner, at least for me, it all starts with the turkey. And in our house, this typically means getting up at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning to make the final preparations and get it in the oven. So that's going to be ready on time. Similarly for a contest, the contestant and judge briefings are the first things to be scheduled. So step 1 was to set the time, and step 2 would be to figure out who's involved. let me speak for a little bit about the fantastic Toastmasters who contributed to the event and who I put my trust in that day. In the days leading up, before I officially took over as contest organizer, I had been asked to recommend some people to step in and take roles. And luckily, I had made some good recommendations. Michael, a colleague of mine from work, has been a Toastmaster for 15 years. He's been district director. He's incredibly competent, steadfastly reliable. And through our work together, we had built up a level of trust. I knew that I could rely on him. Siobhan, I'd come to know through Michael. She was the club sponsor of the club that I set up last year. Utterly selfless, has never failed to support us in any way. She's a retired school teacher and has a manner that's both simultaneously exudes confidence and balance with a deep interest in those who she's speaking to and empathy. I called in some favors, current and former area directors that I had worked with on prior contests, a few members of my local club. The number one concern throughout was always pulling all of this together was to create a context that would allow the contestants to shine. So you might ask, so what, like, why am I telling you about all these people who you may or may not ever meet? Well, if you might just hold on a few minutes. As with all contests, there were some minor hiccups. You know, when you're waiting for your dessert and it just takes that little bit too long, that was our ballot counting exercise. There was some miscommunications back and forth between the judges and the chief judge. But through it all, I had the confidence in the back channel so that we could be open with each other when there was issues arising and deal with them in real time. As I sat down after the project and set to writing the speech, I thought about what I'd taken away from the exercise, and you know, it really boils down to these things. These were all people who had cooked this meal before. You know, I'd seen them do it, and what's more, I knew that they would do it when they said they'd do it, and I knew that they had the contestants' best interest at heart. They were being selfless, and that's really what it's all about. Like that is trust. So, fellow Toastmasters, as you go about the rest of your day, think about it. Who would you trust to cook your Christmas dinner? Who would you trust?
Thank you. And now, Vincent, could you please give your evaluation of Dave's speech?
David followed the instructions of this project to the OTEC. He was supposed to show us how he works as a team leader. And immediately he established ethos because he was talking about how to organize a contest. And that, as we all are Toastmasters in contest season, he obviously got us engaged because we all have had the opportunity to run contests or be part of contests. We know how difficult it is. I also enjoyed the way he used metaphors, cooking dishes, the curries, being a bit anarchic in his kitchen, of being just using what there is. So I like the layout and the structure of the speech. There were a few things which I would like you to improve on. I think there were too many characters in your story. I got confused. Although we tried to describe each individual role player in your group, I felt there were just too many. I would concentrate perhaps on one or two and then give them a proper description, because my brain just doesn't captivate all these things. Now I don't remember any of those role players in your story. I would like you to keep better eye contact, what you do right now. When you speak, your eyes are all over the place, but really you seduce your audience with maintaining this eye contact. Obviously, in this virtual world with Zoom, that is not always easy. It depends on your camera setting and your computer setting. And I have the same problems often because I use an iPad and you have to look a little hole somewhere where the faces aren't there. Another thing which you said was, let me speak about. don't say that. I mean, just speak about it. I mean, don't be precise. Use your words to the utmost effect rather than sort of generalizing. So you established your ethos. We know that you know what you do. You had a good structure. I liked your use of metaphors. I would try to improve on your visual contact. I would try to eliminate perhaps some of these people. And at last, perhaps for me, the most important part of David is your vocal variation. You have a beautiful pace and it's easy to understand, but there are no variations. Perhaps you should not go above certain limits. It's not amateur acting. You're not supposed to use different voices all the time, but a bit of variation makes it so much more interesting. David, wonderful. Thank you very much for offering you your speech.